Heroes in Crisis issue 2, Tom King
Yeah.
writing, Clayman on art, and much controversy this book. It seems like every issue that comes out of this, there's going to be a pissing contest on the internet to either praise or complain about everything that's going on in the book, and a lot of it does come down to really sort of online pissing contests and
Yeah.
just general
I'll
snarkiness.
I'll just give mine where I am just taking this in as it goes. I'm trying to just be zen about it because we all know I can overreact, and I do overreact,
Yes,
right? I liked what was in this book, but I don't know how I feel about the story, if that makes any sense.
I think it kind of does.
So, like, the testimonials from Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman,
Mhm.
I thought were great. The overall plot of Booster and Harley and who done it and who's actually dead and who might
Mm.
not be dead, and I don't know what to think on that yet. It's only 2 issues,
Yeah.
and I feel like we haven't been given a lot to chew on.
I think it's a really well crafted comic book. I feel like it
Hmm.
feels epic in scope. It feels like a big event. It feels if and part of that's the art because the art's so good, but just
Yeah.
the interactions between the Trinity, them being at the center of this and sorting this stuff out. Barry finding out about Wally because Booster's a bit of an idiot in this book and brings it up
Yeah.
without realizing that he doesn't know. Um, that stuff for me is mostly working, and then the implications of the ending and the stuff
Hmm.
that's going to come from the testimonials is kind of interesting. Because
Yeah.
there's a wild Lois at the end. Lois is in the Daily Planet, and we're doing some spelling jokes, which you can't spell things,
Yeah.
and apparently Arsenal's testimonial from Sanctuary has been sent to her. Someone has this footage,
Mhm.
and over the course of the book, we saw both Superman and Batman reveal their identities. Batman takes his cowl off. Superman's talking
Right.
about growing up in the farm as Clark Kent. There's all these things.
Right.
So obviously we're getting to these big things. This is arguably the bigger threat here of not only who killed these people, but who's behind this and who's actually going to reveal potentially who they all are. Not that I expect to actually have Batman and Superman exposed by the end of it.
Yeah.
And if they are, then that'll be something else that's reversed for sure. Because obviously,
Yeah.
so
So the thing that I really bit into here was the interaction between the Trinity
mm,
and them finding out what killed Commander Steel, and that it was because he's impenetrable. He's basically Colossus from the X-Men with his skin, so he should be indestructible. But they find a lump in his throat, and it looks like a pair of Joker's chattering teeth
yeah,
were shoved down his throat, which would mean it would point to Harley. So they get talking about like the protocol of if there's any backups that they can check on the to see who did this. And Batman's like, oh no, I made sure there's no backups anywhere. And he's like, yeah, but you're Batman. Like we know that's not true. He's like, I bet you have kryptonite in your bat belt,
mm-hmm.
which is a nice joke about the bat belt there, right? And
Yeah.
Batman's like, no, why would I do that? Well, later, Harley comes a calling, and turns out there's kryptonite in his bat belt.
Well, yeah,
So
because she has the lasso on him. She's stolen
yeah,
Wonder Woman's lasso, and she has him. And she says, if you got anything in your belt that would help, you got kryptonite to help deal with Superman because she
right,
can't fight Superman obviously. And
right,
Superman says no, he doesn't. And then he just says, I have kryptonite in my belt. And
yep.
I'm not gonna lie, that made me laugh. That was a funny payoff
Yep.
to the earlier scene. Uh,
Well, but it also tells me that Batman's not being on the up and up. So I'm sure he's lying about there not being backups. You know,
Yeah, I mean, you could
like
read it like that. I mean, admittedly though, I'm inclined to kind of believe him just based on the fact that because when he says that he's been to Sanctuary himself, and we see him
mhm,
take off his cowl, I'm like,
yeah,
he would have a reason to not keep any of this.
yeah, but I don't know, man. He's Batman.
I mean, he
He
is, but
he brought I think did they bring up Tower Babel? Or was that in a piece that I read?
yeah, I wasn't
But
in this. No, I don't think.
okay, yeah, but I mean, this is the guy that took down the rest of the Justice League with Roz brought him down
Well,
with his
here's the
plan.
thing though, the kryptonite thing. He wasn't hurting anything by lying about that. I don't feel that Batman would actually impede the investigation with the other two Trinity members, and lie about having. Because if it existed, he would want to look at it, right? He would want to solve the crime. This was what he does.
Yeah, I don't know, man. He's super shifty, and I felt like there was more to that than just the laugh. I feel because especially after Mr. Miracle, I feel like King, he's not one of these writers that just adds fluff there. Like everything has a meaning. I feel so. Well, we'll see if
Oh,
that
I
pays
mean,
off.
yeah, but I think it can have a meaning without it meaning that. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, maybe, and this is what I mean. Where I don't know about the story because there's so much up in the air. Like I feel like he hasn't given us enough, like I said earlier, to grab onto. Like we're 2 issues in, you know, and it's slow moving, and that's okay. Like I'm not complaining about that. But the one big thing I had a problem with is they say that Poison Ivy died, but it's off screen, and as a Poison Ivy fan, or it's off panel, that upsets me. Like,
Well, yeah, but yeah, it comes back to everyone being upset about Wally. Really,
yeah,
same
but at least
difference.
Wally, we saw his body, you know.
That's not much of a difference, Matt.
I think it is.
It's not much of a difference.
So
This is boiling
I'm
down now to, oh, I should be more upset because Ivy was done even more hard by.
well, I'm not saying more upset or not. Like again,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to get into that pissing contest, but for a character that he spent so much time with in that Batman arc, to just willy nilly kill her off panel, I hope there's more payoff. And that's my point. Is before I'm going to jump to my gun or jump the line, whatever you want to say, uh, I want to see how the rest of this plays out. It's only 2 issues in, but
For me, adding to the list Poison Ivy of who's dead is just further confirmation that this isn't sticking.
yeah,
I don't believe for a
it could
second that
be.
Wally West, Poison Ivy, and Roy Harper are all staying dead at the end of this.
I say maybe King has a thing against gingers.
That's a good point. All three of them are ginger.
Huh?
I mean, Commander Steel and so on aren't, as far as I know,
No.
but
But
still,
yeah,
it's amusing.
so well, man, I definitely feel like Arsenal is for sure because we've seen that repercussion in 2 other books.
I don't
You
know.
know,
I think you could you could just rename this book Ginger Side.
Ginger Side. Uh,
Oh, that's pretty funny.
my
Anyway,
favorite post-hardcore band,
s
Ginger Side.
yeah, now I'm digging the way it's been told so far. There is this kind of weird feeling over it though because of all the deaths and because you're kind of feeling like I don't believe this is sticking. And obviously some people are flying off the handle and assuming that it's sticking
Yeah,
and are pissed about it. And I just can't jump to those conclusions because
yeah,
it just doesn't feel like it. It just doesn't feel like, oh, this is permanent. And
yeah,
I know people like to compare the image. They like to show the image from Rebirth where Wally's back, and now there's the image of Wally being dead like 2 years later. And I get the irony there, I do, but I just
yeah,
I don't believe that he's gone for good. I just don't feel it yet. Um,
yeah.
and again, maybe that's
I,
denial. I don't.
I did love Booster though. His reasoning to going and getting Barry is because he's a police scientist and he's good at dead bodies, but he doesn't think like this would affect him mentally in any way. He's just like, oh, let's go get Barry. He's good at dead bodies. He'll know who killed Wally.
Yeah.
Um, but it felt like classic Booster Gold. So, but yeah, I feel like there's gonna be some timey-wimey elements towards the end now because they're really leaning heavy into Booster and maybe if he's the killer, what made him snap to kill all the people and if that's fixable, and if maybe time travel is,
Yeah.
exacerbated
I'll be
it,
honest. At this point, I'm expecting neither Booster or Harley to be the killer.
Me too.
I don't
Me
really
too.
think it's either of them. I think they've both got the same whammy on them that's confusing them or
Mhm.
whatever. Um, I did like the confessionals because I want to go back to them for a bit because
Yeah.
I like this idea that they feel very meta, especially Batman and Superman's, where it feels like they're having
Yeah.
conversations with themselves that we as fans often kind of have and talk about. The
Mhm.
idea that Batman's kind of admitting, hey, all these kids that I've trained to help fight, they've all kind of ended up dead in one way or another. And it's like
Which
a moment of
we pointed out on
admission.
the show a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's this moment of reflection. And then Clark has the moment where he's like, am I Clark or am I Superman? And, that's a debate I've had many a time. And I always come back to he's Farm Boy Clark. He's not Clark Kent at Daily
Yeah.
Planet. He's not Superman. He's Farm Boy Clark. And both of those are an extension of that.
But I like how King put it, where it's I was Clark Kent, and then I became Superman, but then I became Clark Kent to hide being Superman.
Yeah.
And it created like this Russian nesting doll of who is Clark Kent. And I never saw it really put that way before.
Yeah. Oh,
Like in
yeah.
that it would like we know it from the different versions and whatnot, but him having an identity crisis about it.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
who really am I?
what I want to point out though is the way I just phrased it there about who the real Clark is. That's not me critiquing the way King said it here. I actually think
No.
the way King said it here agrees with what I say. It's
Yeah.
just that's how I usually phrase it. The way he's phrased it is that Clark became a different thing when Superman
Yeah.
became a thing because it had to be
Right.
enough different to for the reasons.
Right.
And the
I
idea,
think, as you said, it's Clark at home on the farm
yeah.
is who he is.
Or
You know?
another way to put it is that they're all him. There's no,
Right.
you can't take
Well,
one away. One's not fake. They're all part of him.
yeah. Yeah, which is it was always funny is, in Christianity you have the Trinity there.
Yeah.
And they're as it's been explained to me, they're all one and the same. And that's kind of with Clark, Superman, and Daily Planet Clark, is they all are one and the same, and they create one greater thing. So I feel like King drawing inspiration from that. But I really liked it. The one that confused me was Wonder Woman's. Like, what the hell's going on in Hippolyta's bedroom at night? Where
Kinky, dangerous sex games. That's what's happening.
yeah, is that what that was supposed to be?
No, I don't think it actually was meant to be kinky. I think it was.
Okay,
But
like
yeah, I mean, because Wonder Woman's whole thing was the idea that she went and bit her lip, right? And that's how he phrases it. She bit her lip and just kind of held it in. And Sanctuary's her finally sort of like going for help, but then she kind of backs off at the end and says, "No, you know what? Other people need help more than I do, so I'll just keep biting my lip. It's fine." Which is kind of speaks to her character, but
cool.
um,
Well, and that's also like a good thing on mental health is like you just can't. It like that boils down to it's okay to not be okay, and she still feels like it's not okay to not be okay.
yeah. Well, I think
know?
that's the point of these three confessionals from
Yeah.
the Trinity is that all three of them are kind of bringing up what their deal is, what their trauma is
Right.
that's weighing
Right.
on them, and
Right.
I think setting that up's quite neat. I think I like this issue more than the first one actually.
Well, yeah, I like how it dug deep, and we didn't necessarily have that. You're thrown into the deep end trying to piece things together. This is okay. Well, the story's going, and King can shift gears to do these testimonials.
Yeah, and also at the end of the book, setting up the threat of their identities being leaked, and not only that, the confessions. Because hell, even one of the things that Clark says is, if the world knew that Superman doubted himself, that would be tragic. That people wouldn't believe in him in the same way anymore. So not only would people know he's Clark Kent, they would stop seeing him as Superman, as the the impenetrable hope and truth and justice and all the rest of it, the symbol. Which there's some interesting stuff there. And then of course Batman's guilt and whatever else. But so I think as always with King, the emotional side and like what he's exploring is where it's at its best. And then the details of the plot are when it kind of shakes up a little bit. I know the internet went off its nut this week, went crazy about Harley being able to like hold her own with Wonder Woman and Batman for the briefest of moment. And I'm just like, she sucker punched Wonder Woman. She wasn't expecting it, and she had the lasso.
Yeah.
Whatever. I mean, it wasn't that much of an extended
Also,
thing.
I look at her; she's a cornered animal, and you never know what a cornered animal is capable of.
Yeah, honestly,
So-
the only possible thing that I would say that I have a problem with is that if Superman wasn't joking when he said that Harley's better than he is, that Harley's better than Batman is, I'd be like, really? Better than Batman? I mean, I'm not saying that because I'm a Batman fan and Batman's good at everything. I'm just saying Harley's more skilled than Batman. Really? I'd be going down that path.
No. And I do feel like King is writing Harley, and when we get out of this, it's going to be a different version of Harley, because we've had this new 52 Amanda Connor Palmiotti version, where she's kind of DC's Deadpool, and I feel we're going to get a more classic Harley coming out of this.
Well, she's wearing the classic suit,
like,
actually. I mean, when she goes to
yeah,
Penguin,
she's wearing that.
Yeah.
But I like the one that was in White Knight, that version where Murphy did the cool thing, like there was actually two, and Joker never realized. but I feel like that's the version we're gonna get
Well,
at
which
the end
one?
of this. Huh?
There was two in White Knight. Which one?
The original, the
Okay.
Dr. Quinzel,
So you
not
think she's going
the,
to reform and be more of a sane person?
not necessarily sane, but more of that, Batman animated series version, and less of the what we've had recently.
Oh, so it's
Because
not
there's no,
actually White Knight then, just back to the
yeah,
original.
yeah, that's what I mean.
Okay.
But I was bringing up White Knight because there's two different characters when you think about it. Like the original Harley Quinn and then the New 52 one. They do feel like two separate
Oh, they
characters.
are. I don't know if that's
You know,
interesting though to have her go back to like classic Harley, because I feel like
yeah.
that maybe just kind of ignores any progress she makes in this story, if she makes any
Well, but
progress at
but what
all.
if she realizes that whole jokiness and whatnot wasn't good for her, and whatever reason. Like it's because of those events she reverts back.
Yeah, I mean,
You know.
it's not like she was like dead serious before.
Well, no, I'm just saying. Like I think where it's going, having her again. I don't think he does anything just willy nilly. You know. So I feel like her being in the classic outfit. You know, I feel like there's a change coming for her when
if
it's all said and done.
if anyth I mean, I know there's probably a change coming, but I don't know if it's the change that you're hinting at. I think her being in the classic outfits maybe more to do with sort of returning to the start of her trauma, because even with her dialogue in this, when she's talking about, oh, I shouldn't have let someone change me, I shouldn't have loved Joker, I shouldn't have done
Right.
this, it's her being reflective, so she's kind of going back to her roots and how what she's thinking about. I
Right.
think it's symbolic that she's back in that. I will say, obviously the art's fantastic. It was fantastic in the
Yeah.
first. Clayman's phenomenal. I'm digging the title pages where it's like spread across a landscape.
Yeah.
That's 2 issues in a row it's done that. But one of the touches I like with Harley, she's got her old suit on, but she's actually got like a bit of hair sticking out the front of it.
Yeah.
It's not like perfectly on as it used
Well,
to
it's
be.
like she's frazzled.
Yeah.
Like
I like
yeah.
that touch. I thought that was a really nice touch in the art. Um, nah, I'm digging the weightiness of all this, and I'm okay with superhero stories tackling darker subjects and
Yeah.
tackling a more
Mhm.
macabre story, a more impactful story. If I mean, obviously it gets tiring if that's all you ever do, but
Yeah.
I'm into it for the most part so far. I'm intrigued to where it's going, and I feel like the dramatic points, the emotional points that are going to be made are, I'm hoping they're going to be worth the journey, because it feels like he's really poking at the psyche of the Trinity,
Hmm.
and I'm curious
Yeah.
to see where we lead with that, and how Booster and Harley kind of fit in from their end when everything's said and
Yeah.
done. I don't know. I know some people hate this. Some people despise this book. Some people don't like Tom King as a writer. And I think
Yeah.
it is very much a taste thing. I think you're either going to love
Yeah.
this or hate it.
So that's what I realized over the course of, I don't know, maybe doing the show or just maturing a little bit from where I was.
Mm.
But I've realized like it's okay to be subjective. Just don't be an a-hole about things,
Oh, sure, yeah.
right? Like if you don't like it, that's cool because everybody's tastes are different. But like to talk down those that like other things, that's I think I've always had an issue with. But now I'm just kind of like where I used to poke the bear at that, like someone talking crap about superhero books because they only like indies. Now I'm just kind of like, well, cool, whatever, man. Like I'll be over here reading my superhero books, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, I just to go back to the original point, I said this a lot in the first issue as well. I don't believe for a second that these characters are staying dead when we're done.
yeah, I feel like it's gonna be timey-wimey. Um,
If not timey-wimey, then Doomsday Clock's ending like a month later. And that might reset things a bit.
yeah, yeah, I don't know, man. That's it. This leaves me just always going, I don't know. And that's it's not a bad thing. Like me years ago would be like, well, no, I don't like that. I want to know things. But now I'm just kind of like, okay, well, what else you got? Give me the next issue, King.
I think for me, as I'm reading this book, it feels big in scope. It feels big, obviously in art, but it feels big in scope in terms of idea. It feels ambitious, and I think even if you don't like it, and I do like it so far, even though I have some concerns about certain things. Even if you don't like it, I would hope that someone appreciates that there is ambition here, even if you don't like the direction it's going. I think it's an ambitious idea for a book, and
Yeah.
I'll always try and appreciate that in any medium. You know, I will always be more enthusiastic about the weird movie, the art house movie that someone had a weird idea for and tried to push it, and is unapologetically not commercial at all and didn't try to be this mainstream thing. And to me, this isn't that unmainstream, but it doesn't. It feels like it's not pulling a punch in terms of, like, you know, King's got this vision, he's going to do his thing.
Right.
And I felt that a lot in his Batman run, where he'll try different things, and some of it won't always land, and some of it he'll nail this really cool little idea that no one's really done before. And I kind of appreciate the experimentation, for better or worse, even when it doesn't always land.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I just want to Clayman's art. We kind of breezed over it, but like Harley playing Go Fish with a penguin, like he gets to draw that. Like that's such a
he does.
He does it so well. And then his Lois, I love Clayman's Lois because he did the date issues, right?
Yes, he did. Yeah.
Yeah. So his Lois, I think, looks so good. And then I love that they've made her colored purple. Because she's wearing purple in this, she wore purple in that issue. Her eyes are that purple. I like when they do that. So I like that there's almost a continuity between the Tom King Clayman stuff.
Yeah, no, art's fantastic. I really can't fault anything in the art. Really, it's gorgeous. No.
Yeah.
Not much I can add to that, really. I will say I love the pages of Barry finding out and speeding off. Like his eyes when he hears the name Wally and then speeds off is a fantastic little moment. So I just, you know, we'll see where it goes. I feel like no one's really has an idea right now of where this is going at the end, and outside of just expecting it to be reversed in some way, it wouldn't surprise me if only one or two characters even remember all this happened by the time it's all said and done.
Yeah, but I think that would be a disservice to the Ultimate story if it's about trauma and there's no lasting effects of it.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. No, I can't argue with that.
So, like if they can just learn to deal with it still, and they're like, well, maybe this was a bad idea, us trying to do this, we need people outside of us, you know? That'd be cool. But I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I don't want it just to get wiped out. Like, even if they reverse things, I want this to have a lasting impact on somebody, whether it's Booster or Harley or even Batman or Wonder Woman or Superman. Like, I want this to leave some kind of mark.
Yeah, we should mention the group that sent Lois the tape referred to themselves as the Puddlers, which was written on the walls in the last issue. So we got the Puddlers. I'm curious to see where this goes. Oh, well, I suppose we should rate Heroes in Crisis then before we move on. Issue 2. What are you giving it?
I can't remember what I gave the last one, but I think I'm just going to give this one an 8 because I did like the testimonials and the art. So that was enough to get it to me. But I don't know how to feel.
Yeah, I don't remember what I gave the last one either. I want to say it was like an 8.5.
Okay. Well, you think this one was better, so...
I do. I don't know if it's better enough to confidently give it a 9, though.
Yeah.
So I'll say 8.5, because I think that's what I gave the last one, and I think it's slightly better. But not a half point better, I guess I'll say. I'm intrigued, though. I'm looking forward to the issues. I kind of dread them at the same time, though, just because of, like, A, will this be the one where it does something really stupid that I hate, or B... and this is one's more consistent, is, okay, all the internet complaining I'm going to have to hear, and not even complaining, just, because it's fine if people don't like things, but the disputing, the back and forth, the hatred between groups.